everyone. So, like I promised you, I've explained about conditional sentences type 2 and type 3 for last week. However, I promise you I will create a video re-explaining of what's going on. So yeah, let's go. First of all, we've met in 11th grader and we talk about conditional, but it was mostly type 0 and type 1. And those are what we call as real conditionals. It means that if you meet the requirement, if you meet the if phrase part, then there's a chance that you can fulfill the result. You can get the result. However, this time we are going to deal with type 2 and type 3, where we imagine things that is impossible to happen. So that's why the other name for these two would be unreal conditional. Okay, now let's move. Before we restart the explanation, I will remind you that there are two parts of conditional sentences. The first part would be the if clause, where you have the word if or whether over there, and then the result clause. You can switch their places, but remember, if you put the result clause in front of the sentences, please do not use comma. Just imagine that the if part is the comma. So in here I also explain about what is if clause. So that will be the condition that needs to be met, and of course result clause would be the result. We will use will or would depending on what type of conditional we have. Now let's look at conditional sentences type 2. In type 2, I give you two examples here. Number one, if we had time, we would visit our friends. And the second one, I would try to talk to her if she were friendlier. So for the first one, if we had time, we would visit our friend. The truth was, we don't have time, so we don't visit our friends. For the second example, I will try to talk to her if she were friendlier. And the fact behind the if sentence was, I don't try to talk to her because she is not friendly. So if you look at here, we are talking about an imaginary situation contrary to present facts. So contrary to what's going on at the moment. That's why we use present simple like don't here or is not. So like imagine if the weather is like bright and sunny, and then you imagine, okay, what if the weather were bad? But actually if you look outside, it's bright and sunny. So that's the logic of conditional sentence type 2. So in here, I give you the recap of what you have in your book in chapter 4, if I'm not mistaken. So conditional type 2 is to express unreal conditional contrary to present facts. Like in here, another example, I give it, if I had $1 million, which I don't, I'd give you some money. So that's why I don't give you any, because the fact is I don't have the $1 million, okay? And I also add here something from your book. We can use it to explain something, to regret what is happening, to imagine a situation, and to advise someone about something. Okay, let me give you a brief example of how to use this. To imagine something or to regret what is happening, you can go with this example. Like if I had $1 million, you would use that to imagine a situation or to regret what is happening, because you cannot give money to the person, or to imagine a situation where I have $1 million. And next here, if you want to use it to explain something, we can look at the previous example. That would be, I will try to talk to her if she were friendlier. In this situation, you can see that uh, that's why I don't talk to her because she is not friendly. That kind of situation. And of course, for the last one to give advice, if we had time, we would visit our friends here. Yeah. So those are the examples of conditional type 2. And if you forget about the formula, I give it to you here. This is something that I already explained to you. I hope you remember. Please remember the number 2 rules. Why number 2? Because we're going to use verb 2 for the if clause. And we do not use will, we will use would instead. So yeah, that will be 2 instead of using verb 1. Okay, just like the formula here. All right, so this is only a kind of a brief glimpse of type 2. I hope you still remember this. And now we are going to move to type 3. All right, so in here we have another 2 examples of conditional sentence type 3. The first one, the members would have attended the meeting if they had known about it. So the truth was, the member didn't attend the meeting because they didn't know about it. Yeah, it seems that I mistyped the S over there. Sorry. In here we know that instead of don't, I use didn't because now we are talking about the past. So we are imagining things about the past instead of the present. So if you go with the present, you will go with type 2. If you imagine something about the past, then you will use type 3. And then the second example, if it hadn't rained so heavily, our holiday would have been so wonderful. The truth was, it rained so heavily, so our holiday was bad. Okay, so this is again another brief summary of what you have in your book. That would be the use of conditional sentence type 3 to express unreal conditional contrary to past facts. So in here, I give another example. I had chosen to study in Hawaii, well, I didn't, so I didn't choose to study in Hawaii. I could have gone swimming every day, so that's why I couldn't swim actually, because I didn't study in Hawaii. Okay, we can use to regret what had happened, again to imagine the situation and to explain the situation. Basically, they have the same function as type 2, however, the time set is different. Remember that type 2, it's contrary to present facts, and type 3 is contrary to past facts. Okay, now the last thing would be the formula. So just like I said before, in 11th grader, remember the number 3 rules? It means that you have to use verb 3. The if clause would be if subject had, and then you go with verb 3. Remember that verb 3 cannot stand alone. And then for the result clause, you will have subject, would, could, might. Yes, you can use any of them. And then you go with have. Then you will use verb 3 at the end. Okay, so remember these rules because sometimes, somehow, some of you try to eliminate the have part. I don't know why. Okay, now a little bit of a friendly reminder about type 2. Let's go back there. Type 2. Guys, remember that was and were are actually okay. However, to avoid confusion, please use were for any of the subject. So for it, he, she, I. Of course, you and they, we have to use what? Okay. Yeah, so that's it. I think that's the recap of uh, last week's explanation. If you happen to uh, follow my class last week, then this is a good reminder. If you do not because of the internet connection, then yeah, it's a good time for you to relearn what you have uh, actually learned before, right? So I'll see you in more exercise later. Bye bye.